Okay, so as we're moving on now to lesson 6.4, where we're going to be working with polynomials throughout this, the rest of this chapter, but now we're going to start operating with them, and today we're going to add and subtract them. Now, we know already that if we want to simplify something, we can combine like terms, can't we? So we're going to fill in the blank here that to add or subtract polynomials, one of the things we're going to keep in mind is put together the like terms. The polynomials will be written in parentheses. So in other words, that they're just kind of like showing you this is a polynomial. So in parentheses, they're showing you, okay, here's one polynomial, and then another set of parentheses will be another polynomial with the operation sign between them. Are you supposed to add them together, or are you supposed to subtract them? Well, we're always going to, and this is not optional for you guys, okay? When working with these polynomials, we are always going to change subtraction to add the opposite. We're always going to change subtraction to add the opposite. And then we actually have two different ways that we're going to be able to add them together. So even if we're talking about the subtraction problem, we've already changed that subtraction problem to an addition problem. And then we can go to work either adding them vertically, and I'm going to teach you both ways. But we can add them vertically. So we can line one polynomial up, and underneath it, we would line the other. That's vertical. Or we can add them together horizontally. So we just write them all on both of them on the same line and work them from that direction. So we're going to practice both ways. Okay, so that, and then after we practice and learn both ways, then it gets. Sometimes they will tell you which way you have to add them. Other times they won't. Then you get to choose. Which way do you like better? Which one works better for you? Okay, so our first one that we're going to practice, we have the polynomial 3x squared minus 6x plus 2. First of all, tell me, let's classify that polynomial. Is it in standard form? 3x squared plus or minus 6x plus 2. Is that in standard form?
Yes.
Okay, what's its leading coefficient? 3.
Oh wait, the other one.
And what's its name? It's a degree what? Degree 2. So what's a degree 2 called?
Binomial.
Quadratic. We can start getting these memorized. It's a quadratic, and it has how many terms? 3 terms.
Trinomial.
That makes it a trinomial. So we have a quadratic trinomial that's going to get added to another what? Quadratic trinomial. Okay, so they're both quadratic trinomials. Okay, remember we're going to change any subtraction to add the opposite. So that's our first move. 3x squared plus negative 6x plus 2 plus negative 1x squared. We can even sneak a 1 in there, can't we? Plus 4x plus negative 5. So we changed our subtraction to add the opposite. Now, once we have done that, in this case, the operation that we have to do between these two polynomials is addition. So we get to now just ditch the parentheses. It does not matter. They're not really playing any role anymore. We're just going to ditch them, and we're going to line these up vertically. So 3x squared plus negative 6x plus 2. Underneath it, we're going to show that we're going to add the other polynomial, and we're going to line up the like terms as we're doing it. Well, in this case, because they're both quadratic trinomials, they line up pretty nicely without us having to work too hard. And just like we do when we add numbers together, we put an addition, we put that bar there that shows that we're going to add. Now, the only difference between this and when we were adding a number like 342 and 169, 342 and 169, if we added those two together, we'd have to start where? At the right. We can't start at the left, can we, in this case? But the difference with polynomials is we're not going to be carrying anything. We don't have to worry about that if they add up to more than 10, to 10 or more, that we have to carry something. We don't have to worry about that in polynomials. So we can start at either end. It does not matter which end we start at. So we can just say we have 3x squared plus a negative 1x squared. What's that become? 2x squared. Plus negative 6x plus 4x. Negative 2x. So do you see how we're just adding down? We're taking the coefficients and combining them. X squareds added to x squareds remain x squareds. We're adding the coefficients on the x's, and they stay x's. And then plus what?
Negative 3.
2 plus negative 5 is negative 3. Okay, we're going to clean up our answer, of course. What will it look like cleaned up? Cleaned up?
2x squared, subtract 2x, subtract negative 3, or subtract 3.
Okay, there's our sum of our two polynomials cleaned up. Okay, horizontal format. Personally, vertical is my favorite of the two, but you get to decide which is going to be your favorite when you get to make the choice. So because they are both, because there's addition in between them, remember we can just drop the parentheses. So what we're going to do is we're just going to write them both down on the same line.
Ew, I don't like this one.
We've got one big long list of terms. Each of them were a 3-term polynomial, so altogether there should be 6 terms in our horizontal lineup. And then we're going to look for like terms. So we're going to say this and these guys are like terms, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we're going to have 3x squared plus negative 1x squared. And typically what we want to do is we want to go with the terms that have the highest degree first. We want to start with them. So what would be the next group of like terms?
Negative 6x plus 4x.
Okay, we got the negative 6x and the 4x, so we have plus a negative 6x plus 4x. What we're doing right now is we're grouping them together because they're like terms. And then our last group of like terms, we have a 2 and a negative 5. So plus 2 plus negative 5. And hopefully we get the same result as we did when we did it vertically. But we have 3 plus negative 1. What's that become?
Yeah. Well, negative
2x squared, right? And then we have a negative 6 plus a 4. Negative 2. And those are x's.
plus negative 3.
Plus negative 3. We have a 2 and a negative 5. So we have plus a negative 3. And again, what would happen when we clean that up? Same thing. So you're not going to have to do it both ways every time. You're going to have to do whatever way they ask you to do it, and you got to know how to do the way that they're asking you. So again, we should have gotten the same result. So it kind of seems like at the at the end here, we're just repeating what we just did. Okay, that's addition. Anybody have questions about addition?
What? No. No.
Okay, because look at what's happening in number 2.
I have a question on the next one.
Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? Because what's going on?
You're subtracting.
There's subtraction
But-
going on.
Can't you just make that addition, then change the negative or the 7/8 to a negative?
Okay, we're going to do this in 2 steps though, okay? Here's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to deal with any subtraction inside the parentheses only. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we need to change 4a squared to, what are we going to do next?
Add negative 8a
Add negative 8a,
plus
add 3. Parentheses are still there. All we're doing is changing subtraction within the parentheses. Don't do anything with that subtraction sign between them. Leave it subtraction for right now. 7a squared plus 2a plus negative 2. So again, only change the subtraction inside the parentheses. Don't make this a two-move thing at one time, because it's not going to go well if you do.
If I did this wrong, I'm gonna be so mad.
Okay, and now we're going to deal with the fact that we have subtraction here. And if we want to change this to add the opposite, what has to be changed to its opposite? The whole other polynomial.
What?
So this whole polynomial is being subtracted, so everything in that polynomial has to change to its opposite. So the first polynomial, we're going to ditch the parentheses now. The first polynomial is going to stay as it is. We never change the first thing that we're subtracting from. We leave that one as it is. We're going to change the subtraction to addition. And as we go along, now we're going to ditch these parentheses and change everything inside those parentheses to their opposite. So negative 7a squared plus negative 2a plus
2.
positive 2. Now, I said we were going to ditch the parentheses, but in reality, let's keep them in there for a little bit, just because we want to see our polynomials clearly. So let's retract that statement. Let's keep our parentheses. And now we can see what our first polynomial is that we need to line up. We have 4a squared plus negative 8a plus 3. Vertical. Right below it, we line up the other polynomial, and we want to line them up as like terms. Well, again, we luck out. They're both quadratic trinomials, so they have the exact same number of terms and the same degree of terms. So that makes it pretty easy. Okay, and horizontally, we're going to
Don't we have to clean that up though?
Oh,
no.
I didn't finish it. I'm just helping you get it set up here first of all.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're going to.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to get both of them set up, and then I want you to go to work doing both of them
Are you ever gonna make us do both of them, like the vertical and horizontal one?
at the same time for the same problem.
Yeah, because I don't like the horizontal one.
No, but there are going to be times it's going to say add or subtract using the horizontal format.
Oh.
So, and I just did. Okay, here's what I will let you do though, because it does make it a little bit easier. When you're putting the horizontal format together, go ahead and start grouping the like terms together right away. So, with this 4a squared and this negative 7a squared, they're the same degree. So we're going to group them together at the beginning. And then we have the negative 8a and the negative 2a, they're like terms, so we'll group them together. And then we have our 3 and our 2, we'll group them together. Okay, add both ways. Do the vertical, do the horizontal. Both times you should what?
Get the same answer.
Get the same answer.
So if they tell us to do the horizontal, can we do both just to see that we can do the same?
Yep, but just make sure you do the horizontal at least. And then if you want to do the vertical, you can verify it. Absolutely.
Are we doing the back too?
Yep.
Oh, those ones don't look fun.
Okay, does everybody get the same sum as I did? Negative 3a squared plus negative 10a plus 5?
Except yours is
Okay,
like
but we gotta clean it up, don't we? Okay, so let's just clean it up one time here. Cleaned up. What's it look like? What's it gonna be like in an answer bank?
negative 3a squared subtract 10a plus 5.
Okay, this is how we would see it in an answer bank.
I have a question for that vertical form. Like I just added that. But like I took -7 and then -2 and I switched those, but I didn't add it.
You took those and switched them. So you put them in a different location?
No, like I got 4a squared plus -8a plus 3 plus -7a squared plus -2a plus 2.
You're talking about on the horizontal side.
No, the vertical.
Oh, vertical, it should look just like this.
Okay, good job.
No, vertical is you want to line the like terms up vertically. That's what vertical means. Vertical means line the like terms up in vertical columns. Okay? Any other concerns? Any other questions on this before we go on? Okay, now let's go to the back side. What's wrong with the back side? What don't you like about that?
Because they don't have the same number of.
Oh, what do we do when they don't have, oh, what's the first one? What type of polynomial is the first polynomial?
It's a
A binomial.
quadratic binomial.
Binomial. And what's the second polynomial?
Quadratic trinomial.
Quadratic trinomial. Probably not going to be quite as, nice, user-friendly as the one on the other side.
actually really easy.
Okay, so let's start first by doing what?
Renaming.
Renaming, changing subtraction to add the
Opposite.
opposite. Are we going to change that subtraction in the middle right now?
No.
No, don't mess with that at the moment. One thing at a time. Does -4n squared need to change right now?
No.
No, leave it as it is. It's not, that's not a subtraction. But the next one is subtraction, so plus a -3n. Now let's deal with the subtraction between them. So again, we're not going to get rid of the parentheses just so we can see our polynomial nicely. But we are going to get that subtraction changed to an addition. So Brian, tell me, what would the second polynomial be now?
Pass.
Garcia, he passed it to you.
What was the question again?
What will the second polynomial's name be now that I'm changing it to add the opposite?
Oh, it would be 4n plus.
4n
Three.
squared?
Yeah, 4n squared plus 3n plus -5.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, this one, now when they don't have the same number of terms, we're going to have to, when we line them up vertically, we have to keep in mind what we just talked about, how they both are degree 2 though, aren't they? So the first one has a term that's to the second degree, and the other one has a term that's to the second degree. So that's going to work out all right. The next term would be the ends, and this one has ends, so I'm going to write it down. And the other one has some ends, so I'm going to line those up underneath. And
Now
then
you're stuck.
this one doesn't have a constant, but what am I going to put there then?
0.
Plus 0.
Yes.
And then the other one has a constant of -5. So we'll put that filler in there. We'll put 0 in there.
I like this now.
So 2n squared plus 4n squared.
6n.
6n squared. -1n plus 3n. 2n. 0 plus -5.
Negative.
-5.
That's what I did on the last problem. Like I changed that negative on the side to positive.
Negative on the side of a positive.
Or the subtraction sign on the, like,
Like when you add and then on the side.
Okay, yeah, just show me what you're talking about, because I don't.
like right there, I changed that to a positive. Or to a plus, like that.
Okay.
You said it was wrong.
Oh, no, I thought you were lining them up vertically. That's what I understood. I'm sorry. I should have just come and looked right away. Okay, horizontal format. We'll start with the 2n squared, and then we'll look into the other one and see it has some n squares. And sometimes the thing to do is this. When you're doing these, to make sure that you don't, when you're using horizontal format, to make sure you don't forget any of them, and you don't want to write all of them down to start with, just kind of do something like this, pass them out. Haley,
Why don't you have to add the powers together?
because we're adding, not multiplying. So if they're n squares, so if I have a pile of n squares here and I add some more n squares to it, there's still n squared, so there's just more of them. But if we're multiplying, that's when we would add, we would say 2 plus 2 is going to be, they're going to be n to the 4th now. Okay? So just like we don't multiply 2 and 4, do we? We add 2 and 4. Okay. So then plus, next thing would be the negative 1n. So we take that out of there, and then we have a plus 3n here. And then in the horizontal format, you guys, listen carefully to me, you don't have to worry about placeholders. You don't have to put zeros in. You just put the plus the negative 5. You don't have to worry about putting plus 0 in because we're not lining them up vertically and we don't need that placeholder. That's really what a 0 is in that other one. It's just a placeholder. So now we'll just combine our like terms. We have n squared, 6n squared. We'll combine our n's. We have plus 2n. This is all we have here, so we just bring that down. Okay. Cleaned up. Or don't we need to clean this one up?
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do. This is not how it would show up in an answer bank. How would it show up?
6n squared plus 2n subtract 5.
There we go. There's our polynomial result. 6n squared plus 2n minus 5.
Okay, I have a question. So when you put your 0 in, what if you put your 0 in for either like a squared or a cube?
Okay, we'll get there. How many of you right now, if I said, let's vote on which format you like better, you're ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, ready? Okay, vertical format. How many of you think you like vertical better? Yeah, it's pretty popular. How about you, those of you who say, I would rather actually do it horizontal? I like them both. Not really sure, but it gets to be your preference. Except when they tell you how they want you to do it, okay? You have to be able to show that you know how to do one format versus the other, okay? So, in this next one, first thing we got to do is an addition problem. So we only have to change the subtraction inside the parentheses. So x cubed
Plus negative
plus
x
negative x squared
plus negative x
plus negative x
plus negative 1.
plus negative 1. Lots of subtraction going on there.
You don't have to
Plus.
change anything.
Don't have to change anything in the other one, do we? Okay, what's this polynomial called, the first one? X cubed plus negative x squared plus negative x plus negative 1.
Cubic
It's a cubic polynomial. There's no special name for a four term. So cubic polynomial. What's the second one called?
quadratic trinomial.
Quadratic trinomial. Is that going to cause a problem when we're lining them up in vertical format?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, because one is a polynomial, the
Yeah,
other is a trinomial. One is cubic, the other one is quadratic. I think that sounds like a problem. So we say, okay, well, when we put this one up, it starts with the x cubed. The other one starts with x squared. So x cubed gets to be first. And it has an x squared, so let's, like this.
And then you put your
So
1x.
first thing, whenever you're doing vertical, what you want to do is you want to make sure you have something of every degree term. So these are cubic, these are squared. We have a to the first power one. And what is negative 1? What power is that to again?
0.
0 power. So that one has all of the terms, so we can just write all of those down.
So would you write it just like an addition problem when you move it over?
Now we're going to do like this. We're going to say, I still want things lined up though. So this one's x squared is going to go right here.
You're going to add 0 to that.
N plus x plus 1. And what are you supposed to we're going to put here?
0 plus.
0x cubed.
Yeah.
Because 0 times anything is still
0.
0. So we're like saying there are 0x cubes in this one. Well, this is a 1. This is a 1. This is a 1. This is a 1. This is a 1.
I put my
All
1
kinds
in
of
there
ones
right
we
away.
can put in there, yeah. What's 1x cubed plus 0x cubed?
1x.
1x cubed, so just x cubed, right? Well, we'll put it in there for now. We'll clean it up later. 1x cubed plus, what's
0.
negative 1 plus 1?
0.
0. So we got a 0x squared here.
Do we even
0x.
Oh, do we even need that? Because
Plus
they
0.
really just cancel each other out, right?
Yeah.
So we can just leave that. We don't have to have that if you don't want. You can leave it out of there.
Oh, I leave it in there until I
You can
clean
leave
it
it
up.
in until you clean it up. That works too. What happens here? Negative 1x plus 1x. They're opposites. They cancel each other out.
And then 0 again.
And these guys cancel each other out.
So
Huh. Well, look at that. We ended up with, cleaned up, our answer is,
X
or x
cubed.
cleaned up, it's x cubed.
I like that.
Let's see if we get it horizontally now. So horizontal method.
Holy, it like makes it the whole line.
Okay, so we're gonna look to this one, this row right here, and we say, okay, x cubed is the highest term, highest degree term. So that one's gone, I've used that one up. Okay, now I got some x squareds. I got a negative x squared and a positive x squared. That's these guys. They're gone now. I got a positive, negative, or plus a negative x, I mean, and then a positive x. Those guys are gone. And then plus 1, right? Oh, wait a minute, there's also a negative 1. Okay, so plus a negative 1 and a positive 1. Well, no different here. This x cubed doesn't have anybody to be put together with, so we leave it as x cubed. What happens here?
Cancel out.
Yeah, they become 0, right? They're opposites. What happens here?
Cancel out.
They become 0, they cancel out. What happens here?
Cancel out.
They cancel out, they're opposites.
And you just said like,
So what's our answer?
X cubed.
X cubed.
I like this.
So trust me on it though. Don't even like be like, well, Mrs. LeGrand, it's just extra marks on my paper and extra lead and it takes more room on my paper and blah 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 blah. And you don't want to change subtraction to add the opposite? I'm about 90% sure.
It's gonna take more time.
Yeah, in the long run, it's going to save you more time. You're not going to go wrong.
I
because
think
of
it
that.
should be 100%.